Well, hi Jenica, you alright?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here with you.
Good. I'm so happy that you're here. I've been very inspired by you for years, but I've never really, when I've seen you at events, I've never been confident enough to come up and just say it.
But
Or
we've met a few, I think one specific time where we actually was involved on the same project, right? And that was the first time
there was
I
deeper connection there.
There was.
Yeah.
We knew something was going to happen
Something was
in the
going to
future.
happen. Maybe it was this that was meant to manifest.
I think so.
Yeah, me too, man. But yeah, you're such an inspiration to me. I feel like I'm always inspired by people who can take their situation, assess what's going on, and then just go, you know what, I'm continuing regardless of anything. And that to me is just, it's gold. It's gold, it's gold, it's gold.
Thank you so much.
So please tell me a little bit about yourself and your journey and
Sometimes I feel like, where do I start?
Yeah.
So yeah, Jenica Leah. I was born with sickle cell anemia, so I was always kind of in and out of hospital growing up, and I think that kind of just left me, I would say I grew up in isolation somewhat. I didn't really know what my condition was. I didn't understand it and how to explain to people how it kind of affected me and how it impacted my life. And so that just led me to kind of just keep a lot of things to myself. And so fast forward to kind of, you know, me being young adult, 18, 19, coming into my own and kind of just owning the condition that I've got and kind of just completely just turning it on its head, doing a whole 360 and thinking, do you know what, I wish that I need to create something that I wish I had when I was growing up that would have given me the confidence to be more open and speak more openly about my condition. So that was more or less what led me and what motivated me to write my first children's book, My Friend Jen. So the first one's called A Little Different, and that just, my plan for that book was just to write this book and I'll give it to a few of the kids in Birmingham and, you know, they'll appreciate it and love me, that would be it. And next thing I know, I was going to Gambia, I was going to Nigeria, sending books all over the world. So it was just amazing.
It is very amazing. How was that process for you of realizing that in your story was a story that was right and was needed for thousands of people all around the world?
Do you know what? It was a journey. Because I published my book eventually through my publishing company, JLG Publishing, but I did initially want to go kind of like the old school route of finding an agent and going with like a big boy publishing house and something like that and having those bragging rights to be like, so that was what I wanted. But, you know, 6-7 months down the line and people are, you know, not getting back to you or telling you that they don't really see the need for this. And I'm like, the point that you are saying, for the fact that you're saying you don't see a need for it, that's why there is a need for it. And sickle cell is something that is not widely talked about. It affects, you know, largely black and brown people. So perhaps that's the reason why it's not largely spoken about. Yet, you know, it affects over 15,000 people just in the UK alone. So to me, I'm thinking that's 15,000 people that's going to buy my book. How are you not like seeing these
the
stats
market?
and seeing the market is there on a platter? I'm giving it to you. And it, you know, to have all those doors shut, you kind of just feel like, okay, maybe it's not going to be what I thought it was going to be, but I'm still going to do it anyway because I know what it would have meant to me. And I know the impact that it's going to have. But, you know, then to kind of have kind of 2 agents coming back and saying, hey, remember me? And I'm like, it's all right now, babe. And we're good around here. I'm just proud. I probably would never have predicted that this is what would have happened. But I'm enjoying the journey and I'm just kind of going with it. We're on the 2nd book now, which I released this World Book Day this year, actually 5th of March, 2 weeks before lockdown. So
what a time
that was
to be alive.
I know. And it was a huge event. All the children were there. Like there was loads of people there. If I'd planned it a week later, it would not have happened. So I'm just so glad.
So I would like to discuss with you just a little bit about the grind and the concept of the grind and what does that mean to you and just really hear your thoughts on what a grind is for you.
I think a grind is for me is just the keeping on going, the not giving up, the resilience, do just the persistence, just the everything, literally just the continuation of, you know, if this person says no, it doesn't matter. If this thing knocks you down, you're going to get back up again. If you take 2 steps forward and 10 steps back, you're going to come back with 15 steps and still be, you know, further than you was before. That is just the grind. And I think a lot of it is, it's kind of like my journey and my story. It's always the case. I'm kind of like, I'm on a good streak, and then, you know, sickle cell, this blood condition, which sometimes I think it's kind of there as a reminder to say, I'm still here, you know, in your blood cells. And it just, you know, puts me in hospital for a couple of weeks, couple of months, whatever it's going to be. And, you know, picking myself back up after those kind of setbacks, it can really take its toll. But that's the grind.
I was going to say, so do you feel like as a person with an autoimmune disease,
but it's actually a blood disorder.
Okay, sorry for getting that wrong.
That's okay.
So with a blood disorder, living with a blood disorder, how do you, or do you feel that that is a different type of grind to a traditional grind?
I think speaking, I hope I get this right, but speaking on behalf of many, many, many people, women in particular with chronic illnesses, I just feel like it's a different kind of grind because we haven't got the same amount of energy that a full, healthy, you know, healthy person has. Like we haven't got that kind of energy. We probably haven't got those kind of abilities. There's so many things that I feel like we want to do, and we have to plan and make sure that it's going to happen, it's viable, it can work. We're actually going to have enough energy and enough time to kind of execute it how we want. So I feel like it's a different kind of grind, not taking, you know, the pressure or, you know, the grind away from anyone else that is healthy, because at the end of the day, the grind is a grind, and everyone has their own struggles. Sometimes you don't even know what someone's going through. So, okay, this is a chronic illness. Someone else might be going through something completely different, and on the outside, they're keeping it all together. There
is potentially new budding writers and new wannabe authors, wannabe first-time authors watching this video. What would you say about your own personal creative process? Like, how do you start writing a book? Does it always come from your experiences, or do you just write stories and then they evolve into other things, or how do you start?
For myself, I think it started a lot kind of writing more as a form of therapy. It was a way for me to kind of get my true deeper feelings out, how I was really feeling about you know, what was happening with my health and what was going on in my life. So I just you kind of call it a diary, I suppose, so to speak. And then I kind of became aware that I was only writing when I was angry. So I started to write when I was happy, and, you know, just different things. And then I kind of just turned a lot of them into a blog, and then I started blogging. So for me, it's more about my personal experiences. But I think for a lot of people, it literally just depends on them. I think some people are really creative, like, you know, yourself, music background, and some people just have it in them to kind of, they've got an amazing imaginations, and they can just, you know, bring these stories to life, and it's just amazing. So for me, I find it easy to kind of just write about my life experiences because there's a lot to write about. But for some others, I think for everyone it will be different. And I think also as well, you don't necessarily have to be a great writer to become a published author, which is what I tell a lot of people that I speak to when I'm doing kind of, I give like free guidance, which people can book on my website. And I always say to people, you know, they'll be like, you know, I wasn't really good at English, or I've never really written anything before. And I'm like, just get your ideas down, even if you've got, you know, an idea of what you want it to be like. There are, you know, editors, copy editors, different types of people that are all there to kind of bring a story to life. And so for me, it's more just getting those stories told. You don't have to be the most, you know, you didn't have to get an A star in, I don't know, English literature or anything like that to be able to become a best-selling author on Amazon or in Waterstones, or anything like that. It's just,
what are some of the characteristics that you think you do need to become a best-selling author, or to get on the ladder?
I would say firstly patience, because I feel like for a lot of people, they have an idea and, okay, I've got an idea and I want to write a book and I want it to come out on this day. And I'm like, okay, that's 3 months away. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Have you started it? So sometimes the process can be longer than expected.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be really quick. So just using myself as an example, my first book, I pretty much wrote it, got it illustrated and everything within about 4 months. And my second book took me over a year to do, just because of, I don't know what it was. It was kind of just the communication and just lots of different things. And I say patience because there's a saying sometimes that done is better than perfect. But when it comes to putting something out, especially, you know, in the form of a book that people are going to read, and you want the reader to feel something.
Item.
Yes, it's not like, you know, you can just go back and change it, and it's, once it's done, it's done.
So the fastest place to get to where we want to be is by accepting and appreciating where we are right now. How do we honour the space that we are in? How do we honour today in order to make tomorrow prosperous? What is it that we need to accept or do or appreciate in right now?
I love that. I love that. Do you know what? I'm going to use the word accountability. Just being and holding yourself accountable for where you are, how you're feeling, and literally just being in that moment. I do think I started a podcast during lockdown because, I don't know, did everybody? I don't know, for fun, and it's still going. And
what's it called?
It's called Salted Popcorn. Salted Popcorn with Jenica Leah. And this is something that I've actually spoke about in one of the lessons. Sometimes I feel like we can be our own worst enemy when we're on this kind of, when we're on our grind and we're, you know, working towards a goal and something like that. And just holding yourself accountable and really being at peace with where you are in that time, in that moment, no matter where you thought you was meant to be or where you expected you was going to be, it's really important, because everything that you've been through has got you to this point, and everything that you've been through is actually going to play a huge part in where you're going to go next. So just owning it, all the setbacks, all the L's, if there have been any. I've had many. I don't know about you, but and just owning those L's. Like, sometimes you've got to think, that was so dumb. Why did I do that? And you know, you've just got to hold yourself accountable, accept it, know that you've got to learn from it. Otherwise, you're going to keep making the same mistakes again. So,
Jenica, I want to ask you a question, and I love this question so much because I think we're always, as people, as women, we're always learning, we're always developing our skills. And I'd love you to share with us, if you can recall, what was the last thing that you mastered?
Ooh. Not to say that you can't fully master something, but I just feel like in everything that I'm doing, there's always an element of growth. So when I get to, like, you know, I might plan something last week and then this week I'm there, but you know, halfway through last week, I was already thinking about 10 other things that I wanted to do. So it's like you get to this point and you've still got more to go. I would say probably the last thing I mastered was overcoming the fear of just putting content out in the form of kind of me just speaking and, you know, just this, literally like this kind of stuff. I've always wanted to kind of, okay, I'm going to start a YouTube channel, I'm going to do this, I'm going to film my life, and then, you know,
been there, girl.
you know, like one day you feel yourself, you're like, I'm going to do this, and tomorrow you're like, oh, look like I did yesterday. What's going on? What's going on here? And as I mentioned, we've kind of like starting my podcast through lockdown. So the fear of kind of me doing that on my own and me taking that ownership, as I said, once it's out there, it's there for people to, you know, love, hate, whatever. I think that I used to do things with people so that you know, it wasn't all mine. I had somebody else to lean on. So this was really something that I kind of just fully, completely just kind of overcome the fear and just did it.
Yeah.
And I've stayed consistent every single week since I started.
So for people watching this now, when do your podcasts drop? Where can they listen to it, and how can we find it?
Yes, so Salted Popcorn with Jenica Leah, they drop every week on a Wednesday. The podcast episodes are very short and sweet. They're kind of like little snacks of truth and positivity to continue you on your week. And obviously Wednesday's hump day, so you probably feel a bit like, oh. So my podcast just make you feel like, oh. Yes, so you can find them literally Salted Popcorn with Jenica Leah, Spotify, Apple, available on all podcast streaming platforms. Is that what you meant to say?
Yeah.
I've not spoken about it yet, so this is the first time. It's new to me.
Okay, this is exciting. Kind of linking to what we were speaking earlier about, just like strength over strife and just always going for it. But if you had a superpower, what would your superpower be?
Not needing to sleep.
Okay, interesting.
This just sounds, it's probably not something that people say, but if I could just, like having an unlimited amount of energy, not needing to stop, not needing to sleep, not needing to stop for food, water, go to the toilet, all these things that sometimes when I have to do them, like I'll be on my laptop in the flow and my bladder's like, girl, and I'm like, please, let me just finish the sentence. Like, I just want to keep going.
Is there a specific thing that happened during your process of starting your business or starting the publishing company that's really took you by surprise, something you didn't expect to happen, or someone to kind of really come through for you in a way that you didn't expect?
Yes, definitely. And this is something also probably that I'm learning to master. I haven't mastered it yet, but just asking, simply asking people. I think you'd be amazed at the amount of people that, I say silently supporting you, but they're probably not even silently supporting you. They are like, they're literally there supporting you. You probably just don't see them because you're so focused on what you're doing and where you want to go. But I don't know where I got this thing from of kind of like, I don't want to ask people for nothing. I want to do it and say that I did it myself and this, that and the other. But asking for help, asking for advice, asking for referrals, asking, do you know a man who knows a woman who can help me do this? Literally, like the amount of people that they're just there to support you. It's just good to ask. Sometimes you think by asking, maybe it's the fear of, that the door being closed, and perhaps that's something from the start of my journey that kind of just put me in a bad place of not wanting to ask for any more support. But, 5 years later, where I am today, I would always ask, even down to me kind of having mentors and people who support me, people I speak to weekly, monthly, where are you at? How are we going to get to the next step? Asking people for help and support, there's nothing wrong with it. Well, I want to just firstly thank you for coming to sit down and speak with me today. And I just want to say on the last point that you made, I think when certain people ask, they don't get that response. So I think it's testament to you and to your vision, your mission, what you're on, and your energy, because your energy is a good vibe. So I think, just keep doing whatever you're doing, and I'm wishing you all the best of everything. Thank you for coming. Thank you. This was already set. It was just going to happen.
It was supposed to happen. I feel like this whole series has been so aligned, and the things that we've been speaking about, and I'm getting myself ready to be as confident as you for some of the things that you're confident for.
Girl, this is going places. When I seen what it was about and everything, Girl Grind UK, yes.
Yeah, boy.